Welcome to Living with the Times. Today we're going to discuss an episode in Parshat Balak. And this is when, after Bilam was hired by Balak to curse the Jews, he was a magician and he had power to curse people and it would come true. So the whole parsha is about Bilam wanting very much to curse the Jews, but he knew enough not to go against God's will towards Israel. And his curses were turned into blessings, even though he intended them to be curses. God turned them into blessings. And some of the highest, deepest blessings in the whole Torah actually come from Bilam. But he did not succeed in cursing the Jews. So at the end, he came up with another strategy. Get the Jews to sin, and that would bring a curse down upon them. And so at the end of the portion, a whole orgy is taking place, and the men are being enticed by these foreign women. And one of the princes of the tribes, Zimri, takes one of the daughters of one of the kings, Cosby, and very publicly challenges Moshe and has relations with her. And the text says in our tradition that even Moshe didn't know what to do. It was so out of hand, the whole situation. And then Pinchas comes by and he very respectfully reminds Moshe what the Jewish law is in a case like this where there's mass desecration of the Torah and God's name. And Pinchas goes and he kills Zimri and Cosby. And we see in the next parsha of Pinchas, God actually rewards him with a covenant of peace. Why? Because a plague had broken out in the camp, like Bilam wanted. Through their sinning, they brought a curse down upon themselves, and it was spreading through the whole camp. It could have destroyed all of Israel. And Pinchas, through his zealousness, stopped the plague. And we see from that point in the Torah, there is no more major disagreements. There's no more fighting. There's no more rebellions. So Pinchas' act, as ironic as it sounds, through killing these two people, and he stopped the plague and he brought peace to Israel. In a sense, it's a whole other discussion. But I want to bring a teaching from the Arizal, who said, what gave Pinchas the strength to do what he did, that even Moshe didn't know what to do? And the Arizal reveals that the souls of Nadav and Avihu, the two sons of Aaron, who died at the time of the inauguration of the Mishkan, the tabernacle, by bringing an offering that they were not commanded to do. And they took incense and they went into the Holy of Holies, and their souls left them. It's a very, very deep story. And so we're told their passion, their zealousness was not in the right time and the right place. They had very, very good intentions, but their zealousness was not in the right framework. And their souls entered into Pinchas and gave him strength to do an act of zealousness. But this time, it helped fix their souls and gave Pinchas the strength. And especially the idea that Pinchas respectfully spoke to Moshe, and Moshe gave him permission, whereas Nadav and Avihu acted on their own. They did not consult with their father Aaron or with Moshe. And this was considered a great fixing for Nadav and Avihu. Later, we're told in the Talmud, Pinchas ze Eliyahu. Pinchas is Elijah the prophet. There's a discussion what that means. Is it the same? Is Pinchas actually the same person as Elijah the prophet? Or are we talking more like the energy of Pinchas was transferred to Eliyahu Navi? He was also a zealot. Elijah the prophet was a great zealot, and eventually he rose up to heaven on a fiery chariot. So what can we learn from these connections? Nadav and Avihu enter into Pinchas. Pinchas becomes Eliyahu. Eliyahu rises up to heaven and becomes an angelic form who's eternal and whose influence is felt through the generations. So we can learn from this two very important things. First of all, zealousness and passion, when not channeled in the right way, like initially with Nadav and Avihu, can bring disaster down upon the person or the community and have tremendous ramifications. But at the same time, when passion and zealousness is used for holy purposes, then it can have eternal effects. Because here we see Nadav and Avihu enter into Pinchas. Pinchas becomes Eliyahu. Eliyahu lives forever. So we see that passion and the fire, because Nadav and Avihu brought incense on fire, coals from the altar into the Holy of Holies. But again, it was the wrong time and the wrong place. And here, Eliyahu rises to heaven in a chariot of fire. And so there we see the total rectification, the fixing. And so this is a teaching to us to be very, very careful with zealousness. As I said, it can have disastrous effects. But at the same time, to pray with passion, to learn Torah with passion, to do deeds of goodness with passion, to love God and love people with passion is, of course, a wonderful thing. And we also can learn how one act can lead to eternity. And this affects and applies to every person, that our acts, though they seemingly can be very limited in time and space, but sometimes certain acts at the right time and the right place can bring eternal ramifications for the good and sometimes not for the good. So we should be aware of this, that our thought, our speech, and our action in potential can do so much good and even last for eternity.